name is David Dorton, also go by Lobie, and I am currently the acting executive director of the PEI Cooperative Council. A co-op is in Canada an enterprise that is incorporated under a Cooperative Associations Act or a Cooperative Act. There are cooperative acts in every province and some territories, and there's also a federal act. And the thing they have in common is that they're all governed by the 7 international cooperative alliance principles, and they all operate in a democratic fashion with essentially one member, one vote. The advantage to the co-op model is that it does have legislation to back it and clear regulations and a way to resolve differences that's stated in the act. So it's possible for any group of people to come together and buy a house, but the way that lenders like to lend, it's easier if you have an incorporated entity that the mortgage can go to. And a cooperative is a pretty low cost and simple way to incorporate.
My name is Kareem. What I do, currently looking for work, though I have a bachelor in business and master's in international affairs, trying to put those to use.
My name is Haley. I currently work as a program manager for community legal information for a program, a little cool program called Justice Avenues.
Homeownership is something that recently I've had a few friends start to dabble with the idea, and Tristan and Stephanie, they recently did that whole process, and so I was always kept abreast of that and what that process was like, and everything that I hear about it makes me want to deal with it exactly none. It's like, not one step, like 5 steps above renting. Like, even if you know people who you're very close with and you trust, living with them can be in a completely different situation. And even if it's not just living and renting with them, but like having equity with them and getting a mortgage with them, like it might be an appealing alternative because of all the many protections it might have. But if one thing goes wrong, then that's a whole ordeal.
Yeah. So it's like renting is so insecure right now. Like, you don't know when they're going to sell the building, you don't know when they're going to evict you, when they're going to get their relatives in, or whatever whatever the case might be. So yeah, I do see a lot of benefit to that.
On the other side of it, I think a lot of people are building non-traditional families, and I think the co-op model would really help with being able to pool their resources and be able to actually live together and not have to worry of too much about their family unit.
Also, if you like you said, with that non-traditional family, right? Because a lot of people who do have that like non-traditional family structure that we're seeing, a lot of them still tend to like live in separate places. Like, you got friends who live in like same apartment building or something like that. There's nothing stopping them from like starting a co-op and having smaller buildings, right, that they could maybe occupy. Right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, cooperative home ownership is perfect for people who want a stable place to live. They want to try to lock in a home at a relatively stable sort of place, but it's not necessarily the perfect tool for someone who wants to maybe buy a house and then buy another and then buy another and be selling houses often. So it's much more oriented for people who want to live together long term than sort of like building assets, although it is fine for that so long as you don't want to sell imminently.
I hope that people who are parts of communities and have friends that are at the same point in their life would consider this as an option for earlier home ownership than otherwise, because this is definitely a lot earlier in my life than I ever thought that I would be buying a house, but it's such a great financial choice to be getting equity in a property rather than renting at this stage in my life. So I hope that people would just see if this is something that they should consider. If anybody is interested in reading a little bit more about cooperative homeownership, myself, Patrick, and Dylan created a short guidebook that people can have a read through. The document's available through the PEI Cooperative Council. It's available for anybody who's interested in learning a little bit more about cooperative homeownership and figuring out if it is a choice that may work for you and your peers.